Bill Ryan, how you doing, dude?
I'm doing great, Brent. How are you?
Not bad. Now that you taught me about Google Meet and we're in here, we got it going. How about,
Google Meet, awesome.
yeah, I think I'm going to start using this more often moving forward.
It's so quick, it's so easy. You can schedule a time for one, and it'll send you a little warning in your calendar a couple minutes beforehand, and you can have your whole day laid out. It pops up on your calendar, or you can just go instant, like we just did right now.
Yeah, sweet. So, how's things in your world?
Man, BMX has been crazy as ever, but we're as stoked about trying to keep people riding bikes and keeping the whole thing moving. But this has been a crazy year. How about for you?
It's been a year, I guess, of development, I guess you'd say.
Okay.
Yeah, learning, trying different things.
Dude, development's good. Learning is good. I mean, this year we've got to introduce some new things on the race side with, some new bottom bracket standards. And we've been working with Torre on some really cool new carbon that's like way higher yield, way higher strength. And I think will finally be something that would make it to where the freestyle side would even start to really accept more carbon. I know you've got the alienation carbon hoops on your bike, right?
No, but I want to.
Oh.
But either way, they do make those. And so it's interesting to hear, like, you're talking about frame wise.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
This Torre's been really doing some cool stuff. When we started playing with carbon 30 years ago, it almost put us out of business. It was not prime time. It was not ready to go. And we watched a bunch of companies start to really use carbon in the late 90s and early 2000s. And even then, it was still super risky, just instant shear. And I think it was 2010 when Torre came to me and said, "Hey, we've got this new resin, and this new resin now makes the carbon way better to where it'll crush, it'll compress, it'll flex rather than just shear off. You'll
Okay.
get a warning." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that sounds pretty cool. I think that's going to be a rad thing to try." And we started testing some parts out of it, and we're like, "Oh, this stuff's really good." And they've since then have just gotten better and better and better. And now with all the military action going on around the world, they're getting asked for better stuff for their drones and for their fighter jets and all that. And it becomes a trickle down thing. This is where we got chromoly. Chromoly came out of the aerospace. That's why all the BMX bikes were being able to be being built out of chromoly, is it was all from aerospace industry and from military spec. And that's how we got good material for chromoly. And now I'm watching this just elevate through on carbon. This new T46X that we're playing with, oh my God. The yield is over 110,000. The tensile, I mean, so now add that in with the nano alloy resin, and you've got the material that's ultra strong, ultra flexible, and resistant to bending. And the weight is just going to be crazy, crazy light because they just keep refining and refining the thread and refining it and getting all the little hair particles off. And oh my God, it's going to be about prime time, but it's going to be expensive. That's the sad part.
Yeah, like how expensive for a frame?
Well, you're going to be close to 2 grand.
Well, I mean, that's what people pay for titanium.
Okay.
So, yeah, like Laird makes a tie frame. I think it starts at 2 grand.
Yeah, this is gonna be right there. Now the thing with Laird, he builds some really cool titanium stuff, and I've watched what he's done. I didn't know the pricing, but I really had an admiration for his work, and I like that he does a lot of custom. That's going to be the hard part with the carbon, is that you've got to have the mold, and you've got to have the mold for the EPS liner as well as the mold for the monocoque part on the outside, and you're going to have $100,000 into a mold set. So you're going to be pretty much like, this is the size. Do you like it? Great, because there is no other. You know, as long as you want it black, you're good. You know.
Yeah. Wow. That is fascinating. I mean, it makes sense for like trails if somebody wanted to do it for trails because it's less, you know, grind impact or things like that. But to think that it could come to like the freestyle side is crazy.
Well, I had Tony D hit me up for a couple of his freestyle friends to try and do some custom stuff for him. And when we started to really look at it, I was like, yeah, that's going to be the tough part, is that it's just that constant hit that you guys keep taking on the coping and on the ledge. And we've had a lot of riders using our carbon rims out in the skate park. And the only thing that really does do a lot of damage is if they don't have their tire pressure high enough and they hit that coping, man, that'll do some damage to it pretty quick, because you've got two thin little points taking all the rider weight, all the rider impact. And if you've got good tire pressure, you're not going to have to worry about it. You've got enough of a protector around it and enough air pressure. It'll handle the blow all day long. But it's that sharp edge contact where it starts to chip the resin and crack through. That's where you're going to have the problem.
So you're not going to be seeing carbon frames in the streets. Not anytime soon.
Well, that's the one thing. If you watch on the mountain bikes, what they've been doing is where the chain normally slaps the chainstay, they've got those rubber guards and those plastic guards. And I could see that happening for a street frame really easy, to where you've got a grind strip on the bottom, and when the grind strip starts to get worn down, you replace the grind strip with another one. And here you've got a frame that's, you know, 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds. You're able to throw it around a whole lot better than a chromoly one at 5 pounds, which, you know, takes a change for rotating weight. I know everybody who's ridden one of our bikes has been like, oh man, it's a lot to get used to. All of a sudden, I just dropped 4 pounds off my bike. I'm not used to the way that it floats. I'm not used to the way it rotates in the air. But then once they start to realize how much it transfers the power and how you can actually make every little bit of your movement just really affect it, oh, that's where people get hooked. They're just like, oh, this is awesome. This is so responsive. You know, I give it a little bit and it just goes.
Yeah, man, that's really interesting. It would be crazy to see that. And I've always thought, you know, I jump on somebody's bike who's super, super light and I feel like it's going out from under me. But you take somebody who starts with something like that, that's all they know. That's all they're used to. So you don't even realize that that's a thing at that point.
Exactly.
Wow. And in the race world, I mean, it definitely feels like it's a game of millimeters where you're trying to get every single possible advantage you can.
Dude, it is a game of hundreds of seconds, because now they're doing all the timing, to where next year all the race series, whether you're racing girl, amateur, boy, pro, future pro, cruiser, it's all timers. So now if there's a question, they're just going to post the picture. Here's the times, you know, deal with it. And they're going crazy with the timing now, to where they've got gate response time. They've got 30-foot response time. They've got first straight response time. They've got second half response time. They've got last half response time. And now that they've been doing this deal with Flow TV, instead of being able to watch the races live, they've got a chart going all the time that says, okay, amateur boys, here's who the fastest were to the gate. Here's who the fastest were to the first 30 foot. Here's the fastest. And it's becoming video game-ish, at least in what I'm looking at, to where I'm like, oh crap, there's going to be kids who are going to go out there now and just go, I'm going to go practice the first 30 feet and I'm going to see if I can beat that time. I don't know if kids are doing that, but I would assume that that would be the next transitional step to where you've got something, you got to want to beat it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it just makes it that much easier to hone in on what your weakness is.
Yeah, exactly. And if you can really start to watch through and go, oh, okay, this guy's been consistent with his 30-foot time, or this guy sucks during his 30-foot, sucks for the first straight, but oh my God, his last half of the track, he comes on and tears it up. For the trainers and the coaches too, that's got to be amazing to where say, hey, we actually have the data, and they're broadcasting it live around the world on YouTube now, to where everybody knows you've got the best last straight, but your first straight sucked. Let's work on this.
That's crazy. It's so wild that you can even do that, because that's not even a thought in the freestyle world.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure that as the contests move on and as things move on, that probably will happen because, I mean, I know USA BMX is the sanction for the freestyle events now, right?
For the amateur side, they have their series, yeah.
Okay. And see, that's something, Brent, to where I guess I'm kind of unsure on all that. I mean, because you've got USA Cycling that's doing all the pro stuff still, right?
That's like the team, yeah.
Okay, so that's the team. And then you've got all the Vans stops, because those shows or events are still going on, right?
No, they stopped doing those pro cups.
Did they? Well, what about the US Open?
No idea. That doesn't sound familiar.
Okay. I thought Larry Edgar was always doing the Vans US Open event. Maybe it was just something that Vans put the skate park into.
Yeah, they did away with the Pro Cup series sort of around COVID. Then they did this thing called the Waffle Cup, which they did, I think once, maybe twice, and they haven't really picked anything up since then. So right now it's like USA BMX Freestyle, then feasts on the amateur and pro side, and then there's like the Nebraska BMX Freestyle series, but that's only in Nebraska. USA BMX Freestyle started with the Recon Tour again.
Okay.
So there's not really any there's not multiple different competition circuits going on.
Okay, so I got a question for you, and this is just off the topic because we're just talking. What are you seeing for like pump track stuff? I mean, like, where do you like to go ride? I know I see you in the skate park all the time. It's where you've got a good park by you, so that's really cool. I know our local skate park here in Apple Valley just had an event where they just had a local jam. They got everybody all together. But I was kind of freaked out on how many people were on 26ers and 29ers riding the skate park now and doing freestyle out in front of the skate park. I was like, what the hell? That, I mean, shocked me a little bit. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, I mean, being at Ray's, there's always guys coming through that are riding, like doing freestyle tricks and riding the skate park elements on their dirt jumpers. Very rarely see it on the bigger bikes. I mean, you'll see somebody who just rolls in and doesn't know where they're at yet, so they just roll in, like thinking that it's part of the big line at Ray's or something. But yeah, I mean, we have a few pump tracks around. By me, I mean, there's a couple within like a half hour, I would say. You go up to Cleveland, there's a few more. They're out there. And in terms of events, when you're talking about a pump track, because I think that's what you said at first, it's the extent of that for me is that I see I'll see Tommy Zula, because he's in Ohio. He posts about whatever pump track event. I don't know anything about it. I just know there's an event and he's taking part in it in some way. And then using the Time BMX app, I see they have a pump track event like category in their events calendar.
Well, it used to be Red Bull was the sponsor of all the pump track series. And I thought it was really cool because if you won your local event, you got a free trip to go to Switzerland or whatever for where they had the pump track final. So, I mean, you could be a local Grom kid who just rides the local pump track all the time. They roll in, set up, and you just happen to be the badass. And guess what? You just got yourself a free trip to Switzerland for the pump track world championship. So I was like, oh man, that's cool. That's really giving a local kid an advantage and something to really look forward to. And you know, the pump tracks, anytime I've rolled by any of them, they're always packed. I mean, much more so than our local skate park. I drive by our local skate park every night going home. If there's one or two kids there, maybe, I'm amazed. And unfortunately, most of the time, there's a bunch of other activity going on in the park that you're like, oh, okay, that's probably why the kids aren't over here at the skate park. And at the BMX track, you know, hey, because of the insurance issue that we have, you know, it's only open on Tuesdays and Thursdays and only from these hours, and kids don't get to ride. But I've been seeing a lot of kids around the neighborhood lately that you can tell they want to get a Sur-on like their buddy, but they're getting a 26 or 29-inch BMXer. And I mean, watching these ride out crews just mob down the street, I'm like, man, there's 150, 200 people. And it used to all just be old dudes. And I say old, I mean, I'm old. I mean,
Yeah.
but it always seems to be, you know, a bunch of older people. And now I'm starting to see a lot more kids, 14, 15, 16, and they're out there, you know, hanging it back, dragging their hand, doing the wheelies, doing the bar spins. And now I've been watching like Isaac from Big Bike BMX. He's been trying to relearn all the flatland tricks that he knew as a kid, but now on a 26-inch bike. And we've got a guy out here, Corey Firmage.
That guy's sick.
Yeah, so he's local here to us, and he's been just doing amazing stuff. And it's all on 29ers and 26-inch bikes. I mean, I'm starting to see a lot of a trend for that. A lot less 20-inch sales and a lot more of the big bike sales.
I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense, similar to how, like, I don't want to say that, but it does make sense in terms of like the barrier to entry for what you have to do to be able to have fun is lower on a bike like that, where you're just, all you gotta do is a wheelie. And then from there, once you get comfortable with that, you're starting to take hands off and do whatever. But like you go to a skate park on a BMX bike, I mean, once you roll around on all the ramps and you start to like catch a little bit of air, what's next? It starts to get a little serious.
Yeah. Hey, try a flare. You know?
Yeah, or, you know, drop in on the 6-foot quarter when all you're doing is pedaling around the skate park at that point.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, BMX racing is the same way. I mean, the tracks nowadays are getting gnarlier and gnarlier. And I mean, you know, everybody at our track, the big thing is they want to jump the big 25-foot double down the first straight to where you're just bombing down it. And I mean, it's set to where you can roll it, but you know, if you boost it and then you can land into the first turn and just whip yourself around, then there's a badass triple to go jump, and then you've got another turn and you've got a rhythm, and then you come out of that and you've got a big pro set, and you're like, yeah, this is rad. And I look at the little kids and I can just see the parents' eyes the first time they bring a 5 or 6-year-old out. They're like, I don't know if my kid's ready for this, you know. And you know, we've got a little balance bike track in the infield that they start to ride, but it's crazy. They'll do the little balance bike track 1 or 2 times, and then you can see the kid eyeing up the hill going, yeah, that's what I want to do. Mom and dad might be going, no, you're too little. But you can see the glint in the eye, and I'm like, yes, that's it. BMX is alive. And
Mhm.
I see that now on these ride outs and watching everybody in the pump tracks, where I'm like, rad. People are just getting out and riding. And the cost of entry, you are so right. I mean, everybody's picking up a Throne, they're picking up a Monza, they're picking up, obviously SE. SE's cream of the crop of those complete bikes, and they're still what, $899, where one of our carbon fiber frames is $2,000. You can pick up almost 3 complete SE big rippers compared to a carbon one, but it's different world. If you want to
Yeah.
go fast, you want to do the UCI circuit and the USA BMX circuit, well, you're going to do that. But you want to go out and have fun. I mean, with the torquer side of things, people have been picking up all the big 26ers and 29ers and just having fun. And oh my God, it's amazing just seeing how the infection is for that crowd, and now seeing a younger group jump into that crowd. And I don't know.
It kind
I was just
of,
curious.
to me, it kind of feels like, and I might be totally wrong because I only have been to a couple of these like ride out things, and I'm not within that culture. But for me, what it seems like from the outside looking in is that there's this idea of community and
Yeah,
like just people getting together and having fun together, and not as much like a trick competition where it's just having fun while they're there. And I mean, naturally in racing, like it's a competitive thing. The whole point of it
right.
is to go fast and beat the person in front of you. And then like the freestyle side of things is seems to be like that, just getting together and having fun side of it for a long time seemed like it was becoming less and less and less, where people was just like, I'm just want to ride with a couple people, the 2 people that I
Right.
ride with all the time, and not get 40 people at the skate park together all having fun. There is more of that happens. But even, I mean, you see it at Rays, and it's natural because you have, like, especially, in a warmer area where you don't have to travel to ride like we do in the winter. Like
Right.
I have to go to Rays if I'm going to ride in the winter. In somewhere like California, it's really easy to just stay in your town and ride your local skate park because you don't have to go anywhere else. So it's like a
Right.
natural progression of just segmenting further and further, instead of what these people on the big bikes are doing in coming together in giant groups and having a community.
Right. Well, and what was really weird, and I really got this when we started helping Kylie Martin out a while ago. And Kylie's gone on to some other things. She's doing Ulta commercials and No Cap and all that. But when she was first here working, and I was really getting a really good insight on what was going on with the big bike thing, the big thing that she would talk about was the community. And I think we had talked about that once before, where she was so excited that, somebody didn't have a pair of pedals, so someone else had a pair of pedals, and someone wanted to trade these grips for these grips. And they weren't so caught up on what brand it was or anything like that, but just they wanted to get everybody out there to ride. And they would come together in a group and they'd build bikes for people to get out there and ride. And it seems like it's a whole lot more of community trying to help each other, which is what BMX used to be. I mean, Mike Miranda and I have talked about this a lot, and part of why we try and really push Dirty Fest, which you are coming to Dirty Fest for, right?
I have no
Or maybe
idea.
June 5th, 6th, and 7th out here in California. You have to be here. You have to. You would have so much fun.
We'll have to talk more about that later.
Okay, you have to. But I mean, I call it the fun festival, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get a bunch of older, and now we're starting to get more younger BMXers who all get together, and they've got food trucks, they've got a downhill dirt track that you can race on if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Eddie Fiola and Todd Anderson have been bringing out ramps and getting things going to where they've got a full basketball concrete area where they put on a flatland jam, and then there's little freestyle ramps on each end, and they have, you know, a barbecue, and they have a pit bike race and a drunk mom scooter race, and, you know, just all kinds of just stupid shenanigans going on, all centered around BMX, whether it be freestyle BMX, BMX racing BMX, you know, trails. And now we're getting all the big bike guys to come out there and do that. But you're having everybody. You're having, you know, obviously Mike Miranda, Eric Carter, and James Vicente. They're the ones who put the whole thing on. But, you know, you're watching someone who's a normal person walking up and, you know, oh, hey, here's Stu Thompson. Oh, hey, here's Clint Miller. Oh, there's Perry Kramer. Oh, there's Cheeseburger. And then you look over, oh, there's Dave Norrie. There's Eddie Fiola. There's Martin Apparillo. There's Bob Haro. There's, you know, anybody and everybody. And this year, you know, I had a knee surgery, remove a tumor out of my knee 3 days before Dirty Fest. So I barely remember it. But I mean, it was really cool because, you know, Nick Keeman, you know, the U.S. or the, oh, not U.S., the Olympic gold medalist, Mara Stromberg's two-time Olympic gold medalist. We're hanging out in our pit, hanging out. Matt Hayden's there. Eddie Fiola's there. Martin Apparillo's cruising around, signing things. I mean, you're getting everybody from every cross section. Jeremy McGrath showed up, you know, so you're getting Supercross, you know, motocross superstars showing up. You know, it's a really cool time to where it's just BMX and your buddies and your girlfriend or your wife, or and you're bringing your kids, and it's cool because nobody cares who gets the #1 title for that race or whatever. I mean, yeah, I mean, somebody does, but for the most part, everybody's stoked that they're just there and involved, and it's BMX and it's community.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how we transferred over to this little tangent. You know, we made this little line change, but you've got to be here.
Well, I mean, just trying to relate, you know, the big bike side of things in that community, and like, how do we get back towards that on the freestyle side or the racing side or whatever? And that sounds like, you know, that is a really awesome event for helping out with that and just bringing people together. And like,
Exactly.
How do we keep that going and spread that everywhere, you know?
Well, that's what we need to do, and that's what I try and do with the Supercross BMX channel and the Torker BMX channel and all that. I'm trying to promote the fun of BMX. You know, obviously we have riders that want to win, and I mean, we've got some badasses on the team. I mean, wait till you see this weekend at the Winter Nationals or coming up in a month in the Grands. I mean, we've got some badasses that just boom, 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 boom. But the biggest thing that I want to try and show is let's have fun on our bike. And that's part of where we're actually going to bring back our passion line. I don't know if you remember when we made our passion frame. Okay. So we used to have a freestyle team that was Aaron Johnson, who, rip Aaron, it's his birthday today. Chris Fox, Matty Cordova, who I hope Matty's getting better. I saw that go in for him. Larry Edgar, Kevin Peraza, Joey Cordova, and Eddie Fiola was the team manager of this. And this was all back in 2010, 2012. And we made a frame that we called the Passion. And it's because BMX is your passion. And now that we're starting to see more and more people at the pump track and more people starting to ride different types of BMX, you know, specifically like the pump track, it's a different market at the pump track because you've got dirt jumper kids, you've got freestyle kids, you've got racer kids, you've got mountain bike guys, you've got gravel bike guys. Nobody cares what you're on.
Yeah.
You know, you're out having fun. And we had sponsored the Feel the Rhythm event this year in Belgium or the Netherlands. And again, Justin Keeman, who puts on that event, he doesn't care what you ride. it's a straight rhythm event. And if you show up on a mountain bike, rad. You show up on a BMX bike, rad. You show up on a freestyle bike, rad. Just show up and ride and have fun. And that's where I think events like that are a bigger thing. So that's part of why I was like, oh man, I'm seeing a lot more people starting to just, I don't care if I'm the world's best. I don't care if I've got a number one. I mean, I want to progress my riding and I want to make sure that I can do better and I'd like to learn new things. But rather than obsessing about that skinny digit on a number plate or, being able to go out and do 19 360s and while you're doing it, do a backflip, throw the bike, no hander, catch it and land. I mean, look at what happened at Red Bull Rampage. I mean, that guy broke his back trying to do that double backflip. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Cool. Progression's rad. That is awesome. I mean, what he did is amazing. But I just want to go have fun. I want to go get a bunch of my buddies together and go ride and tease each other and shoot the shit and push each other a little bit to make it better and have some fun and actually ride rather than being so worried about, oh, I'm sponsored or, oh, I got this or, oh, I'm number one Gold Cup or I'm number one Rock or I'm number one district. Yeah, go ride your local tracks. Go ride your local freestyle track trails, your skate parks, the pump tracks. Just go ride.
Yeah. It's for the longest time, and it seems like racing is the same way. It's just been all about the next level, pushing things, and in freestyle, it's just been this constant search for like the next craziest video, the next super insane edit that somebody comes out with that we're all going to forget about after a week. And
right.
And like we see it starting a little bit more, and I really hope that I've been able to be a part of that happening. But I feel like we're starting to see a little bit more of the focus on the fun, just as at least like a partial focus. And because there's always going to be that place for somebody who's trying to win and get number one in the race and have the skinny digit, like you say. There's always going to be that place for the next craziest edit with adding 10 tricks to some line or doing something no one's ever even thought was possible before. But at the end of the day, we all are out there doing it for the fun of it. And I think if we can promote that, if we could promote that, then I think we get more people involved. And I'm thinking, you're talking about bringing back your passion line. And you've got Torker with big bikes and whatnot. I feel like moving forward, we're going to find that companies that take this all-encompassing approach and are accepting of anybody, like you have something for everyone, basically, will do better than companies that focus and it could go both ways, because you could say like the very specialized company that focuses on one very niche thing could be the one to go to.
Right.
But I do feel like it's a totally possible approach to be that company that has something for everyone at the same time.
Well, I mean, you're way too young to remember the GT firm era where Rich Long, rest his soul. I was actually speaking with one of our bike shops about this today. Rich had this mentality that he taught me when I was 17 years old, that you want to keep people having fun, and his goal was to capture them cradle to grave.
Yeah.
And that he was like, hey, I want to get them when they're on a micro BMX bike and take them all the way up through a Pro Double XL, and then let them get a mountain bike. And then when they're done with the mountain bike, let them get a beach cruiser and let them get their kid back into it. And Rich really made a lot of the other companies step up. He made Trek step up. He made Specialized step up. He really pushed it to really make all these companies step up to where Trek was making all their money off the adult bikes, but with they were feeding the bottom end. They were making it to where Trek could sell the adult bikes because they were keeping the kids stoked to ride BMX. And once you've got the BMX bug in you, you're going to ride mountain bikes. You're going to ride road bikes. You're going to advance on and do all of that. And Rich used to get really mad that, you know, Trek, Specialized, all those companies, they didn't make BMX bikes. They didn't care about BMX bikes.
Yeah.
Because BMX bikes are low margin. BMX bikes are kind of a headache because you got a million different sizes and colors and everybody's nitpicky. And it's weird that way where mountain bikes, you know, okay, here's your few sizes, dial it in with a stem length and a bar length. You're good. But with BMX, you've got a micro, you've got a mini plus, a junior plus, an expert XL, an expert double XL, a pro plus, a pro XL, a pro double XL, a pro triple XL. I mean, you've got 17 different sizes.
Wow.
Because you're keeping that kid from when he's 3 years old all the way up to a full grown 6'3" man, you know, or woman, you know, whatever. I mean, you're making that full transition. So you've got to have a wide variation. And freestyle, luckily, it seems like it's from 12, 13 years old up. So there's not a lot of those little sizes, but you do watch companies like S&M. I mean, you know, Moeller's got little bikes, little 16-inch bikes, little 18-inch bikes for the littler guys to ride. But for the longest time, you didn't have that. You had, you know, 4 sizes that would fit someone who's going to be between 5'6" and 6'3". And here's the 4 sizes. Pick what you're comfortable with. And that's where I see that with the big bikes now, the 26-inch and the 29-inch bikes. You know, you've got one top tube size, maybe 2. That's it. And it's 8. It makes it a lot easier to say, well, I'm going to make 100 of those, where on the BMX bikes, I've got to make 20 of this, 20 of this, 20 of this, 15 of this, 20 of this. And it makes it a little bit more cost effective when you can start to do things in that manner.
Yeah. And I don't know if we're talking like
I lost you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I lost your sound.
You can't hear. Oh, I'm glad you noticed that. I somehow pressed the mute button.
Kicked us off or something. I don't know.
Can you not hear me now?
I can see your mouth moving.
I see what happened.
Oh, there you go. Now you're back. Now I hear you.
Something got weird.
With all the buttons.
Yeah,
with the buttons again.
I think something fell and it messed some things up, but we're good now. Yeah, and like I don't know if we're necessarily sitting here like talking about problems and solutions and whatever, just chit-chatting about like things that just are. And I had a recent conversation in a podcast with someone about little bikes too, in terms of like, yeah, there's little bikes that exist for kids that are freestyle based, but what I didn't know, and what I bet a lot of people in freestyle BMX don't know, is that those bikes aren't made to really be comfortable for little kids. And so we talked about the concept of like, well, maybe if there should be some companies in BMX who do make like a comfort bike for a kid, so that you can have that like cradle to grave kind of mindset. And then we got into some of the positives that could come from that, in terms of like at a bike shop, it would give a bike shop an excuse to have more of your bike than just your freestyle BMX bikes, where most bike shops don't care about freestyle BMX bikes because they don't sell that many of them. But I bet you they sell a lot of kids' comfort bikes, because a lot of people are coming in there wanting a bike for their kid, not even thinking about BMX. So then, like, if we can realize that in freestyle BMX, racing BMX, whatever, if we can realize that, and we say, all right, well, what if we have a couple companies in these segments that make a comfort bike for a kid? And now we take some of what our marketing budget was that sent everybody on trips instead of thinking about how we were going to sell stuff. And
Right.
what if we, all right, even if we didn't allocate any of that, just what if we had a more intentional approach that says, like, all right, they have this bike now, something to do with our marketing has videos or something like that, that somehow we capture this kid who didn't go into the bike shop ever even thinking about BMX, but they got our bike because it's just a little kid sidewalk bike. Now,
Right.
how do we capture that kid and get them to realize, oh, there's something more to just riding a bike on a sidewalk? Like, you can do some cool stuff on bikes.
Right. So, okay. So back in the early days of the firm, GT had it to where you could start off on a Dyno Nitro for like $79.
Mm.
So it was completely competitive with Walmart, Target, Sears, JC Penney, the big box stores, whatever. And yeah, the bike was garbage. And I mean, we hated selling them, but I mean, GT was selling 500,000 of them a year. And what they would end up doing though is they would take it to where they had an upgrade chain poster to
Mm.
where it'd be like, okay, you start off on the Nitro, and once you decide that you're really into it, you can come back and buy the VFR, and the VFR is 119. And then once you decide that you really like it, that you're going to come back, they had the comps or the vertigos for the freestyle side, or they had the Mach 1 for the race side. And then once you got into it a little bit more, you had the Pro Series. And then from the Pro Series, you had the Elite Series. And on the freestyle side, you had the Pro Comps and the Pro Performers and the Tour models and the team issues.
Mm.
So you actually had a stacking program plan to where every year that kid may ask for a new bike for Christmas as he evolves and continues on, whether he goes down the freestyle path, whether he goes down the race path. He's just enjoying riding bikes.
Yeah.
And GT killed it with that, dude. And now the problem is that we as BMXers who love it, we're elitists. Okay, not to sound bad, we are elitists.
Yep.
And we want the best. I want the best hub. I want the best rim. I want the best bearing, and yeah, hey, my brake lever, sure, it's $100, but it's got a little seal bearing pivot in, it's got a little alloy this, and it's got this, and it's a freaking brake lever. Come on, man. We can do the same job for $4. Let's figure it out. It doesn't look as trick, it doesn't feel as nice, it doesn't have the little curvy bend we want, or the adjuster barrel isn't hidden or whatever. But I mean, there's always a place for all of that across the line, but we've lost the focus on that entry level because you've got to sell so many of them because the margin is so low that we've kind of gravitated to where, well, let's go over here. We're going to keep making the badass cars. So we're going to make the Paginis. We're going to make the most badass cars too. It'd be like if Porsche said, hey, guess what? We're only going to make GT3s from now on.
Mm.
Everything below that the normal person can get, no, we're not going to do it. Or if Toyota decided, hey, we're only going to do the Gazoo race models anymore, and we're going to do the badass one. Who cares about the Camrys? Who cares about, the Corollas? Who cares about, the bread and butter? And that's what we as the cycling industry have done. We've said, we don't need the bread and butter. We just want the steak and gravy.
Yeah, man. And so all I could think about where you were talking about that, because you said they sold, hundreds of thousands of these bikes.
Yeah,
so BMX and BMX companies seem like they just hate the idea of selling a lower level bike that's like entry level. And I don't mean freestyle BMX. I mean just like kids bike. So it just seems like it's taboo and you don't want to touch it. Fully understandable. We're elitists. I get it. But here's my thought process on it. What if instead of having that mindset, we thought about it from the mindset of, well, somebody's going to sell those bikes, and there's a whole lot more people buying those bikes than are buying freestyle BMX bikes. So if we just had a super low tier bike at every single like level, where you have the kids comfort sidewalk bike, then you have the awesome freestyle kids bike of the same size, then you move up to the 18, you have a 18 and an 18 freestyle, then you have multiple size 20-inch bikes. Then now all of a sudden you've opened up the potential amount of people who could buy your bike from being this small thing to being absolutely massive. And yes, you're competing with the giant companies out there that already have, you know, contracts with Walmart and Dick's Sporting Goods and whatever. But at the same time, we've seen Mongoose in Walmart. We've seen DK was in Walmart for a second. We saw GT in Dick's. We saw all these companies who have done it. I'm like, dude, yes, I get that it sucks to think about selling a bike of that level, but if someone's gonna do it and people are gonna buy that anyways, what if we tried to be the ones who did it so that we can dictate that upgrade path? Like Huffy is doing a really smart thing with the
Huffy's gonna kill it.
Yeah, so they have that symbol complete that's a 20-inch, and you can put it has like normal fork size. You can put a real fork and stem. You can put real cranks on it. You can put real BMX parts on this bike straight off the shelf. Mongoose did it for a long time with bikes that you could get in Walmart. I loved going into Walmart and going and looking at the bikes and being like, look at those 3-piece cranks on that Mongoose in Walmart. Like,
right.
And I just can't help but wonder, like, if we just could somehow get past this mindset of we can't do that because it compromises our values, and realize if we did this, it would help us be able to do so much more. Like, what could possibly happen?
That's why GT killed it, because Rich Long, I mean, rest his soul. He and I used to argue. I was a dumb kid. I thought I knew it all, right? I was 17, 18 years old. I thought I knew everything. And Rich used to laugh at me. And I used to think it was so funny. I learned so much from that man. He had such a passion for BMX. He started off as a track operator, a bike shop operator, and then saw the vision to where he's like, oh man, I can really make this BMX thing grow. And when BMX was in the shitters, excuse the term, I don't know if I'm allowed to say
you're
that. Good. But he went to USA BMX, which was ABA BMX at the time, and said, how much is it going to be to sponsor all your races? Because I'm going to sponsor them all. But guess what? My rider's going to be on every trophy, and my logos are going to be everywhere. And it may be a GT race, then a Robinson race, then a Powerlight race, then an Auburn race, because he had all those brands in-house. And he went to BMX Plus magazine after BMX Action went out of business and said, hey, we can't let you guys go off the newsstand. What's it going to take to keep you guys alive? Oh, I've got to buy 12 pages every issue? Rad. You're going to test one of my bikes every single issue, give it a rave review. My pros are going to be the ones covered at all the contests. They're going to be on the cover, but you need those 12 pages? Here you go. Here's the check. Let's keep it going. And he was using the mountain bike money to funnel that through to keep BMX alive, because he knew that if BMX goes away, then the other side goes away. And I told Stephen Frottingham from Bicycle Retailer magazine 25 years ago, 2002, when GT was completely done, I told him, I said, hey, you guys really need to pick up the ball and focus on pushing BMX into bike shops. We have to keep the bike shops keeping BMX alive, because we've got to have those bike shops that are going to transfer to the track, to the skate park. The kids will learn their enthusiasm. The kids will learn their passion through these bike shops on the BMX bikes. But the shops don't want to touch a BMX bike because it takes almost as long to assemble a BMX bike as it does one of these mountain bikes or road bikes now out of the box. So now I've got a bike that's on the shelf that's $179 that I put the same amount of time into assembling as the bike that I have over here that's $5,000. The bike that's $5,000, I'm making a 40% margin on. I'm going to make, $2,000, 2,500 off of if I sell this one and push this one. And then that guy's already an enthusiast because he's spending money. So he's going to buy the shorts. He's going to buy the shirts. He's going to buy the power bars. He's going to buy the electrolytes. He's going to come back to have the wheels trued. He's going to come back for that. And the whole side where, hey, we've got this $79, dyno nitro that's going to get your kids started. Nobody wanted to deal with that. They'd see someone come walking in the shop with a kid and they'd go, oh man, I don't want to talk to him. I'm not going to make enough commission on that. I'm going to spend an hour talking to the guy and I'm going to make $7. I want the guy who's going to be the high roller, who's going to buy this over here. So us as an industry, we've killed it. We've done the worst thing that we could possibly do. We abandoned our roots. And you've got to keep the roots growing to keep the tree growing, right? You can't concentrate on how the tree looks pretty on the outside if you're not focusing what's going on with the roots. You have to make sure your base is solid.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you think about it from that standpoint of like time and opportunity costs for someone in a bike shop to try and push a BMX bike, it's like, when you think about how much time it takes to sell someone on a BMX bike versus sell someone on a mountain bike, they're probably pretty similar amounts of time. But then you say, right, I put this X amount of time in to get this amount of dollars on the BMX bike, when I put same amount of time in to make way more than that amount of dollars on the mountain bike or whatever other type of bike it is. It totally makes sense that they wouldn't push that, especially when it's like everybody talks margins. Even if the margins are exactly the same between a BMX bike and a mountain bike, when you have that percent of margins on a $5,000 bike that takes you the same amount of time to sell as it does the $300 bike with the same margins, well, you just made, like, think about it in terms of like a server at a restaurant. You just made like hundreds and hundreds. You made like thousands of dollars less on the BMX bike for the same amount of time at the table as what you did for the mountain bike. And it totally, I feel like, puts it into perspective for that.
Become the Burger King, just throw a burger at you and say, get the hell out of here, kid.
Yeah.
We don't want it.
And then, and then BMX bikes or BMX companies, just because quality and like level of strength and durability are so important to us as riders who already have bikes, that means the complete bikes have to get incrementally better and better and better every single year, so that the people who are never even going to buy a complete bike again because they have their bike that they built will be like accepting of them. And we've totally just gotten away from that entry level bike mindset. Like, I was a victim of this. I put this out into the world in my videos at first because in my head I got it in there that the only bike that was acceptable to buy was full chrome ollie with double walled rims and sealed bearings everywhere.
Right.
Then I've over the years have finally realized, no, that's not for everyone. And we need what we like, instead of making a really awesome bike that'll last somebody 10 years, we need bikes of every level, and we don't need 30 different bikes of every level. We just need a couple of them and an upgrade path.
Exactly. And what's funny is, like, Robbie Morales and I spoke a long time ago when he was starting Colt, and he was like, look, he goes, the skateboarders, he goes, they expect their deck to last 6 months. If they get a deck to last 6 months, they're stoked. Mm-hmm. And the pros are able to actually be helped, because if a pro has a pro deck out you can change the design every 6 months, change it every year. People, they'll wear out their board, they'll go get a new one, they'll keep moving that path forward. And with BMX, we've made it to where if something breaks, everybody just piles onto them, regardless of why it broke. I mean, yeah, hey, if the guy's going to jump off a 24-foot building and land flat bottom, something's going to go, right?
Yep.
It's just one of those things. But if you're the company that has something go when something like that happens, oh, you're looked down upon, and you need to make your bike last. I mean, I've had people call me up saying, hey, I bought this frame in 2003 and it just cracked. And I'm like, all right, so you've gotten 22 years out of it and you're calling because the frame cracked? Well, yeah, man, I want my lifetime warranty. And it's like, okay, we don't offer a lifetime warranty. We offer a manufacturer's warranty on materials and defects that last 90 days. And we do offer a lifetime crash replacement where if you break it, you've registered it, you've got your receipt, I'm going to hook you up with one at a deal to keep you riding.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not ride it for 22 years through 5 different owners and then expect to get a new one for free. You can't do that.
Dude. And it's so funny to be able to think of this from both sets of shoes that I've been in my life, because I was the kid. So I bought a set of demolition cranks from Dan's Comp. They were the first aftermarket cranks I ever bought. Cracked them. They replaced them. No questions asked. And they had come out with a second, like another version, a newer version of them. They replaced them with the newer version. Awesome. Great. Years and years go by. Cracked those ones. They replaced them again with the newest version of them.
Yeah.
And so I've been in that mindset and pair of shoes of like, yeah, that's what we want. That's awesome in BMX whenever companies will replace stuff, even though they already replaced it 2 other times. And like, yeah, they should replace it. But, and then you got people who are like trading warranty cards or giving their warranty card for something to somebody else and like, or lying and trying to pull one over and then getting mad when the company won't like do something, like won't just give them a thing. Like I have had so many people talk to me about how they don't like blank company because something happened and they wouldn't just give them a frame or do anything for them, even though it had been years. And it wasn't like it was a reasonable, oh, I've been riding this frame for 6 months and it cracked in the middle of the down tube and broke. Like, okay, that should probably be replaced because that's
take care of that right away. That's a warranty issue. That's a problem.
But then you've got this expectation of, no, I've been riding this for 5 years and then it broke because I've been riding it for 5 years. You should replace it. And it's like a problem when companies won't do that. But then the same people, when that company is struggling, like, oh, I don't understand. Or it's hard for people to get like, well, that's because companies shouldn't just be giving stuff out. The crash replacement thing, great. At least you can get your money's worth. Like you can get your cost on it back.
My cost and keeps the rider riding.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, win-win at that point, and Moeller does the same thing. I know he's got his crash replacement warranty where, hey, you break something, you've registered it, you've got your sales receipt. Hey, I'm going to replace it, but it's one time, we're not going to keep doing this for life. We're going to do it once. Hey, that's rad. And, we always call it the JRA stories, the just riding along. And it's like, man, I was just riding along. And it's like, dude, come on, really? And I love it when people call up and they're honest to where, I had a guy the other day, he's like, yeah, dude, I was manualing down this hill by my house and a car backed out of a parking spot. And he goes, I totally just had to drop my front end and then bam, right in the back of the car. I flipped over and he goes, dude, my frame is wasted. And I'm like, yeah, I bet it is. And he's like, is there anything you can do? And it's like, yeah, because you were honest and, let me try and work some things out for you, you know, or, oh, dude, I was a bonehead. I had my bike on my roof rack and I drove right into my garage and just smacks into the roof and, you know, came ripping the bike rack off and, you know, it bent my bars, dude. Is there anything you can do to help me out? And it's like, yeah, you know, when you get someone being honest and saying, hey, you know, I'm not looking for anything free, but can you help me out? Because I was a bonehead. And it's like, yeah, I will definitely help you out because you were a bonehead.
So, I mean, from the perspective of a company owner, that's, I think, something that people should hear is like, are there any instant, like, no, I don't want to help you, things that people say kind of things?
Oh, when they hit you with the first thing saying, hey, if you don't do this, I'm going to badmouth you on social media. It's like, oh, okay, cool. I don't even want to know what the rest of the problem is or the excuse because I don't even want to talk to you. You know, I had one guy call the other day, and the way he started the conversation is he goes, you're about to have the most fucked up day. You're going to have, and I'm like, excuse me? He goes, I'm doing my Tony Soprano routine. You're going to do exactly what I say. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's back up here for a second because that's not the way that it's going to go.
No.
You know, I can't remember who said it, but, you know, somebody was like, hey, you catch a lot more flies with honey than you do with vinegar or bees or whatever that ancient story is, you know. Be kind, be truthful, be honest, and dude, I'll help you out. You know, I want to keep the kids riding. I want to keep everybody riding.
Mm-hmm.
But of just being a jackass, you know, it's like, nah, I don't really want to deal with the jackasses, you know.
And save your receipt.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got a registration process that's really simple and it's cool to where someone registers their frame with us. We log it in a database and I send them a $20 gift card that they can use on the website to buy a t-shirt or something.
Nice.
You know, it's just something to where, hey, I'm giving you that little extra incentive to, you know, register your frame and I'm going to give you something back a little bit, you know, and let's try and keep this whole thing going and keep everybody riding and keep everybody having fun.
Yeah. So we talked, I looked it up. It was end of December last year.
Wow. So it's been about a year since we've done a podcast. I mean, you know,
yeah. And since
that's what it is, you know.
Yeah. Well, I like these ones. I like these ones where it's no structure, just talking with somebody that I've gotten to know already. I'm just kind of wondering, like, if anything's changed or you've noticed anything different in the world, in the BMX world.
Oh, you had to go there, didn't you?
Shy waited.
Oh man, no, it's just like, man, this world has changed so much. And I'm not going to try and be political because everybody's got their own political views and political stance. And, you know, hey, I was registered green for many a year because I don't care what the right side's doing or the left side's doing. Just let me keep doing BMX stuff and having fun and keep things evolving. But this year has been kind of a tormentual year to us because the economy's dropped where we're watching rider counts at BMX races fall off to where they had a big national in Florida where Florida is usually a pretty big thing. They had 112 motos. And it's like, wait a minute, our local race, when we do like Red Line Cup or Gold Cup or whatever they're calling it nowadays, you know, we'll get 100 and something motos at a local race. You know, and this is what nationals are starting to turn into. And the entry fees are starting to go up super high and people are not wanting to buy product because, you know, the cost of groceries are too high. I mean, not to sound like I'm out of the loop, but, you know, this year's kind of been a weird year. I had the colon cancer situation. I had the knee tumor situation and we've had some deaths in the family. So it's been a weird one while we've been trying to keep things moving. And actually went grocery shopping with my wife the other day, which, you know, normally she handles, but I was like, hey, I'm going to go along on this trip. And I was like, $10 for a gallon of milk? When did that become a thing?
Whoa,
And
that's real.
that's real. I was like,
Whoa.
hell. And I was looking at it, and she's like, yeah, she goes, that's why I've been buying the half gallons, because a half gallon's $7 compared to the full gallon for $10 that will get wasted. And it's like, holy shit, have I been living in a bubble for way too long, not knowing the real prices? And this year, I've sucked it up and I haven't raised our prices, even though all the tariffs have hit. So we've just been accumulating debt. And my accountant's like, hey, at some point, you're going to have to share that. You're going to have to share that cost
Mm-hmm.
out. But you never know what you're going to happen. Because, I mean, he started off saying, oh, here's what the tariff is. Okay, cool. Well, a month later, oh, no, no, no. That tariff's off the table. Now we're doing this tariff. And it's like, whoa, okay, we can't do that. That sucks. So we're screwed. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, guess what? We're going to have a stay on the tariffs. We're not going to do them. Everything's good. But what people didn't realize is that we companies were still getting charged the tariff. And
Mm-hmm.
they were like, yeah, it's a stay, but we're going to collect the tariff. And if it becomes a permanent thing, you'll get a refund in the next 2 to 4 years or whatever the time frame was. But we're still going to keep holding on to that money. And it's like, oh, shit, okay, this is pretty crazy. And then all of a sudden, one day we see a truth thing come out that says, guess what? I'm going to put a hold on all the tariffs because of this. And then 41 minutes later, I got the email from our freight company that clocked it. And 41 minutes later, nope, F that stay. We're adding 100% on top of everything. All the tariffs are stackable. It's now going to be a 300% tariff for these products. And it's like, holy shit. And how can you plan for that? And how can the rest of the world expect to be able to live with this uncertainty? One of our agents from Taiwan came over and visited, and he was like, hey, the factories are down to working 2 days, maybe 3 days a week, and a lot of them are shutting down.
Mm.
And talking to my bike shops, and like Eric at Northwest is a great shop, and we were talking last week on some things, and he was like, man, Bill, he goes, it's really weird. He goes, our business is holding, but the only reason it's holding is because the 3 other bike shops in town went out of business. And he goes, but I just had my first set of freestyle handlebars come in that cost me $120. He goes, and they're chrome molly handlebars. They're going to have to sell for almost $200. And I'm like, people aren't going to buy them. People are
Yeah.
not going to. If the handlebars start costing $200, people aren't going to ride them. And then if you bend them, the people are going to be pissed because they're going to be like, I spent $200 on those bars. But we got hit with tariffs on our US made stuff to where the chromoly, yeah, even though we buy it from a local place, it's certificate of origins from Canada. So 50% up. Our
Mm-hmm.
aluminum, all of our chain rings and all the different stuff that we're making here, but the certificate of origin, even though we bought it from a place in Alabama, certificate of origin is Korea. And it's like, holy crap, another 50% increase on that. And you start taking 70, 75 bar stock that's, $22 a foot, add a 50% tariff on it. Now it's $33 a foot. And the machine shops using their price scale as 4 times material cost. Holy shit. The part that would have cost you $88 is now costing you, $240. And you're like, what? How did this happen? Why did this happen? And now I guess as of today, I got a notification that, Trump is going to have more meetings to reduce 24% of the tariff and 10% off of this, but this is still going to be stackable. And the freight companies didn't even know how to calculate it because the customs offices are closed with the federal shutdown. So they just know they've got to keep sending money, but no one's picking up a phone to return a call. And it's like, what the hell? How are we supposed to plan on moving forward? How can we build products where like our balance bikes that are made in China, we had ordered them a year in advance and they're on the way. Well, now I'm going to get hit with a 274% tariff on the bikes per the law that's in effect today. So that means the balance bike that used to sell to the dealer for 119 and would retail for 150, now it's going to cost 3 times that. It's going to be a $500 balance bike. No one's going to buy it. Nobody's going to want that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that to the public. I don't want to do that to the consumer. You
Yeah.
know, it's not all of a sudden you're getting 300% greater material or 300% better bearings. It's the same thing that we are having. It's just nobody in America wants to build a balance bike for $50. You know, when you've got tires and tubes and spokes and hand lacing wheels and platforms welded on the frames, and it's a cheap, inexpensive thing. And that's part of where the industry did move to Japan and then to Taiwan. And now at least they're moving out of Myanmar. But, you know, so much of the production is Thailand and India and all these different things. And we've tried to do as much as we can here in the US, but even doing stuff here in the US now, everybody's wanting all these huge increases on their salaries because, you know, the cost of milk is $10 and gas is creeping up to $5 a gallon again. And yeah, that's cool. You guys dropped the interest rate so people can borrow more. But I don't know about you. I'm tired of being in debt. I'm tired of having to hold those lines and finance everything. It's just, oh, it's crazy.
You're in California, right?
Yeah, we're in California.
That is crazy. I don't know if it's just because I live in the same town as like a dairy place that makes milk. But I'm gonna look it up right now. Yeah, a gallon of milk where I'm at is less than $3.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that is crazy. It's like hearing that, I'm like, what? Like, and
Yeah.
gas is less than $3. Uh,
I went to go visit my son in Texas, and the gas prices are about $2 less. You know, which was great. It was a wonderful thing, but the home prices are the same prices as they are out here. And, you know, there's different things, but I did notice some stuff was a little bit less expensive. You know, you go out to eat at Chili's, it was like $1 less there than it is here. But the basic commodities, you know, like the milks and the eggs and the gasoline and different things, yeah, it was a lot cheaper back there. But their minimum wage is a lot lower compared to here, to where our minimum wage is $16.50 for small companies now. You know, that's minimum. And back there, I think it's still 7.25.
yeah,
That makes a big difference, and
crazy. That's so
it's
crazy.
hard.
Yes.
Our community's just messed up that way. And I mean, our BMX community is messed up because of the different things, but the whole economy, I mean, everything's just kind of in a weird place. And I'm trying to figure out how we fix it and just have more people ride and have fun.
That's kind of what I was about to get. I was like, as the company owner, having all these freaking, I don't even know what you'd call them, thrown at you, curveballs constantly being thrown. Like, are you guys just pushing and trying to do things as normal as possible, basically, or
Yeah,
what?
we really are. It's difficult, and especially this time of year when everybody's coming around looking for sponsorship. You know, people are like, "Oh, sponsor me," and it's like, "Oh man, guys, hate to break it to you, but you know, we're trimming the fat a little bit." And I mean, you know, there's a couple companies, riders that we've been getting tons of resumes and pushing on to where you know, they they haven't released the word publicly yet, but there's a couple companies that are going to be stepping aside.
How many? You
And
don't have to say any names, but how many different ones have you heard?
I've heard 3 pretty solid.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been hearing this for 5 years. I mean, ever since COVID, people have said like, oh, this is going to be the year that a bunch of companies go away. And it took until last year to see GT and free agent, at least in the freestyle side. And even that is like, well, they were about as far removed from the core BMX as you can get with while still being somewhat involved. So it was like, those ones almost make sense, but it feels like we're finally getting to that point where like stuff's hitting the fan.
Well, and what's weird is like GT and free agent who put the pause last year. So, I mean, we can talk about them pretty comfortably. Their BMX markets were so small.
Right.
Their majority market was mountain bike, and they just were dying on the vine. And that's the thing that I think has made it a lot more difficult for some of these companies. And like KHS, which is free agent's parent company, finally put out the press release a couple weeks ago saying, hey, guess what? December 31st is our last day for KHS. We're over 50 years old as a company and we're done. And that was a huge thing for them to do, because not only was KHS a full line bike supplier from little comfort bikes all the way up to adult bikes, beach cruisers, mountain bikes, road bikes, gravel bikes, they were a huge parts supplier. They were one of the few Shimano parts suppliers that was left in the world. There was QBP, Shimano, and KHS pretty much as far as getting the parts out to the bike shops. And they said, hey, if we don't find someone who can buy us by the end of the year, we're just shutting down the building, we're walking away and calling it done. And I was so saddened with that. And on the mountain bike side, you watched Canyon go through their bankruptcy. You're watching YT go through their bankruptcy. You watched Rebel bikes get sold and bought and bankrupt and bought and sold. You watched Kona show up for Sea Otter, set up their display, and then get the phone call, oh, we're done? That was our last check? Oh, all right, everybody tear down the booth. We're done. We're out of here. It's like, wait a minute. What kind of bizarro world are we living in that you send a crew out to an event that you paid for space at, paid for their hotels, and then call them up and say, yeah, by the way, your hotel isn't going to be being paid for this weekend. We're done. Everything's shut off as of now. Your credit card that you had for your drive up is shut off, and sorry, didn't mean to leave you stranded, but here you go. And I mean, I don't know if that's exactly the way it went down, but that's the stories that I heard from a couple of people.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like, what the hell kind of bizarro world is this that we're living in?
And I mean, those are some sizable companies compared to what we deal with in the freestyle BMX world, where it's like, I think that is like both it's like there's positives in that for BMX at the same time, where I feel like any big core freestyle BMX company, even if big is super small in relation to something like Kona or Canyon or whatever, I feel like any of those could downsize to the point where they just do like batches of stuff and it's only enough to keep like a couple people and a job. Any of them could do that and keep going until things do finally turn around. Whereas you have something like that Kona, and it's just like overnight, that's how big it is. They could just get those phone calls and just be done, and everyone's gone, and there is no more Kona bikes.
Right. Well, actually, that's what's weird is that Kona during the COVID time, and you'd have to fact check me on this, but they sold to an investment firm, right? Because all of a sudden the bike shot through the roof. An investment firm came in, said, rad, we're going to buy up this company. And then when COVID started to go downhill and they had no idea on how to manage it and how to keep everything together, and all of a sudden they're like, we're done, we're out. And it's like, oh, okay, you guys used to be pretty hardcore. Now you're giving up. And now the old owners of Kona who sold it to the investment group stepped up and bought it, and they're keeping it running and putting a
That's
smaller
good.
core together. So, I mean, there is some things like that, but it's been some really weird wash through, and we're seeing it on the BMX side now to where companies, I mean, I feel blessed that we're able to have the size of crew we do. I mean, we're 9 people total when
Mm.
everybody's humming along, and it's like, okay, we're tiny. I mean, we are a pimple on an ant on an elephant's butt compared to like Pond Holding, who's owned by Heineken beer and has the distribution for Porsche and
Oh,
Lamborghini and Rolls Royce.
geez.
Yeah. Oh, dude, look into it. They're
I
huge. I
didn't know
mean,
that.
yeah. And they're the ones who pressed hold on GT. They're the ones who went, GT's not being profitable. Let's pause that one, and it's like, oh, crap. And, so many of them, I mean, like Intense pulled back and said, hey, guess what? We're going to shrink our company a little bit, and we're only going to sell in the United States for right now. We're not going to sell the rest of the world, which I think was really smart for them, because they were like, hey, we know we've got to cut back. We know we've got to do some things, and we need to fine tune and fix. And if we say we're only going to be doing US, then we can do small batches. We can keep things in control and try and grow. I mean, kudos to them. That was amazing for them to try and make that move. But our industry is just crazy. It's like, how do we survive? And that's part of where I love your enthusiasm with it, and that's where I love having our little chats, because it always pumps me up to where I'm like, all right, I'll look at Brant's videos, and all right, he's out at the skate park, he's out doing this, he's having some little contest with somebody, he's riding somebody's Paro Sport that got stretched out 2 inches. And,
Yeah.
I mean, stuff like that's rad, because at that point you're going back to the core basic of BMX, and you're going back to, I hate to say it, but our childhood values of, I just want to ride my bike and I want to have fun and I want to set the real world aside for a minute. And me and my buddies, we're going to go hit a couple jumps. We're going to go hit a couple ramps. We're going to go do whatever. And for an hour to 2 hour block, you're zoned in and you're like, yep, I just had fun. I got my endorphins, my adrenaline's running. Now I got to go back to the real world. Shit, somebody give me a coffee and better make it a triple, because it's going to suck for a minute.
Well, I appreciate that. And you're kind of spot on in like where you went from that, and just that literally what I do is what I've done since I started riding at 13, is just riding with my friends, having fun, making videos. And I didn't know it at the time, but building my life around that and building a way to like even just partially sustain myself from that outside of the industry of BMX, or any other industry for that matter, has been like the best thing I could have done, because it isn't anything else where you are stepping up and going to work for a company in terms of like, all right, I have to make a crazy video part this year, or I have to place at a contest this year, or I have to travel the whole entire world, or whatever it might look like as an expectation that is like more than what you just enjoy doing for fun. Like, and I do what I do at home and have fun. And if I travel, it's awesome and it's bonus and whatever. I had no idea how like beneficial it would be to set myself up in that manner. And now I'm looking at these other people who are like big name real pros in BMX, and it's like they're losing their sponsors, or they built this expectation around themselves for so long that the second they're not able to uphold that, well, now they have to figure something else out. And I'm over here like, well, I just was myself so much and only did what was me until it worked so much that I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it, Brant. I mean, that is the beauty of this. And that's where with myself, I started riding a bike at 7. I got lucky to grow up in the mecca of BMX in Torrance, California, when things were going big. And when Scott Bryout found out that I was a latchkey kid, he was like, all right, cool. Guess what? You don't got anything to do after school today? Ride your bike on over. You're going to sweep the floors and you're going to pack a couple boxes and I'm going to pay you $2 or whatever. Rad, and start doing that. And then, when I got my license on my 16th birthday, he's like, you can know how to drive now? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, here's the keys to the van. Here's the hammer you're going to need to bang the starter underneath when it doesn't want to start. Here's the Thomas Guide map book. Here's where you're going to go to the heat treater. Here's where you're going to go to the powder coater. You're going to pick this up from there, take that here, and then from there, pick this up, bring it on back. We'll see you in a couple hours. And I'm like, hell yeah, I've got the SE van. I've got the hammer of God with it that starts the damn thing. This is rad. And, you move on. And I never planned on having a lifelong career in BMX. My thing was like, hey, it's me and my buddies. We're going to the track. We're going to the trails. We're going to go ride. I mean, we had more fun riding this little trail that was across the street by the Security Pacific Bank, where it was just a bunch of trails and just having fun. And it was so cool to where we'd be out there riding. And, here comes Pete Lonkarovich and Dennis Kishiyama, where Pete Lonkarovich ended up becoming a 4-time #1 pro. But, they pull up in their little Volkswagen Squareback and they're like, hey, can we ride with you guys? Yeah, come on, let's ride, and it's just cool. It was good camaraderie, and riding the strawberry fields and riding the drainage ditches, and you're just going out and riding and learning, some self-reliance. You learn, where you can pick strawberries and where you're going to get shot with rock salt. You learn hoses that you can go get a drink of water from, and you just learn things, and you're out there having fun, and you're riding your bike, and you're coming home with scars, and you're coming home with stories, and you're like, yeah, I did this rad jump, and then I slipped a pedal, and yeah, my face is going to be scarred for the rest of my life, but dude, it was so cool.
That's
That's
awesome.
the fun part of BMX.
Yeah, and if you can figure out how to, like, if your ambitions are to be a pro or make a career in BMX, if you can figure out how to make that it, then you've won.
Yeah, oh, big time. I mean, I've been doing, next year will be Supercross for 37 years.
Jeez.
Before I had done tech race pants, and I was working at GT and working at SC. Next year will be 46 years working in the BMX industry. And it's not really work, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get to show up, get to design some cool things. I get to flow some stuff to some riders and, help make kids' dreams come true because they got their new bitchin' bike they wanted, and they're stoked, and everybody's having fun at the trails and the pump tracks and the track, and yeah, BMX, this is it,
Hell yeah, dude. I can't
It's
help
just
but wonder, because you've been in it for so long, is there another time that you feel like is similar to what's happening right now?
We've been through this before. Moeller and I actually had a conversation the other day. You know, when he started S&M was about a year before I started Supercross. And when he started S&M, BMX was in the dumps, and that's when GT had just branched off to do mountain bikes, and they were starting to grow that whole thing, and the magazines were going out of business, and it became like, okay, it's our thing now. We're the kids. We were 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old kids, and we're like, you know what, BMX kind of sucks. We're going to kind of step up on our own and try and do what we can. And we were the ones always getting, shooed away from different things or told, oh, you're a stupid kid, you don't know what you're doing. but we've had that passion for BMX. And Moeller really took off on the street riding and the freestyle side. We took off on the race side. You know, every so often we cross paths to where he'll do a few Steel Panthers or a few 38 specials, and I'll do a few passions and whatever. And, you know, the markets will cross a little bit, but it's friendly and it's good stuff because I know his passion for BMX. I know Robbie Morales's passion for BMX. I know Ronnie Bonner's passion for BMX, and you know what all of us have been doing for our lives to try and make it better for everybody who rides now and before and will again in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm really hoping is that we'll start to see more little local bike shops pop up, and we'll start to see more little fun jams start to show up. And I think it's really cool that like Ron Wilkerson's doing a rerun of the Wilkerson airline frames, which I mean, most people today, and it's sad, don't know necessarily what a badass Ron Wilkerson was and how cool he made Wilkerson's airline be. And
Yeah.
so to me, it's rad that he's doing this new little retro rerun version of it and all that stuff. That's rad. And I hope more people get to learn about BMX and what USA BMX. I mean, we've talked about it before, what Gork's been trying to do at that museum and trying to showcase, you know, the best in freestyle, the best in racing, you know, and give a little bit of that story of that history. So maybe someday there's a bunch of 16, 17, 18-year-old kids right now that are like, hey, I want to try and make something cool. I'm going to do the next local bike shop. I'm going to come out with my own frame. I'm going to try and do something. But, you know, I mean, like with Hoffman, I mean, what he did with the bicycle stunt contest, which turned into the X Games. I mean, here he was just trying to make BMX cool for him and his buddies. And, you know, hey, he had the resources. Let's go buy a semi. Let's build a trailer on, you know, a ramp on the trailer. And we're just going to tour around the country riding our bike. How does that sound? Sounds pretty freaking amazing to me, right?
Yeah.
You know, and it used to be that way for BMX too. You get for racing, you get 5, 6 people crammed into a pickup truck or a van or a car, and you're all sharing a hotel room and somebody's sleeping in the tub, and you know, you're going riding and just having fun. And a lot of that fun factor is just gone away as the sport splintered from just BMX into, well, BMX and freestyle, and then street riding and flatland and trail riding, and you know, ABA racing and NBL racing and UCI racing and world champion this. And you know, you start to splinter and you start to get all these little micro niches, and once you start getting too many of those micro niches, they just die. They can't, you know, survive. There's nothing to keep them going. It's too small. I mean, when you had geez, I hate to do this, I'm drawing a blank. When you had one of the old team managers from Haro on, and he was explaining how
Joey Cobbs.
Yeah, when Joey Cobbs was on, I mean, I loved his explanation. You know, we made 25 of these stems and we sold 5, and then we had to wait another 4 years to sell off the rest. And people wondered why we didn't make more. Well, nobody was buying them. People call all the time wanting them for free.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to buy it.
Yeah, man. So it kind of sounded like you were saying that when Supercross started was a similar time to now.
Very much so. And we've had a few ebb and flows along the way. So, I mean, you know, and Moeller and I were talking about this to where it's like, okay, the late 80s, early 90s were a downtime, and then things came back up and back around, and then it shot back down in the late 90s, and then it came back up in the the mid 90s. It started to drop off again. Late 90s, it started to come back up again. Early 2000s were starting to go good. 2006, it was like someone yanked the phone cord out of the walls and the industry died. And, you know, NBL and ABA merged, and this happened, and this company merged with this company because this company went bankrupt, and this and that. And then it started to pick back up again, and then COVID shot through the roof if you had inventory and if you had product, and then now we're down the backside again. I mean, I literally feel like I'm riding a BMX track or riding a skate park. I mean, constant ups and downs to where you're just like, oh shit, okay. You know, you learn how to be a squirrel.
Yeah, so I guess that is leading me perfect into what I'm about to ask, is that like it sounds like there is no sustainable, similar, less wavy path. It's just the way it is, and there's always going to be huge ups, huge downs, and we just have to do the best we can to like learn what to do in the downs and learn how to ride the ups as long as possible.
Yeah, very much so. And that's where I really keep hoping that we get a lot more of the younger generation that is more educated and really wants to evolve things to be able to keep things going. Because I mean, not to sound bad, but I mean, a lot of us, you know, myself, Moeller, Bonner, you know, Morales, we're all starting to get old. And not that we're old and we're done, not by any stretch of the means, but I'm going to be 58 next year. And I've been doing this for 46 years of my life. Well, what's going to be the carry-on plan? What's going to go on? My son Tucker's really involved and really active, and he's really working with the rider side and the social media side and learning all that stuff and really having fun with that, which is awesome. I mean, it's been making things be great. But where are these companies going? I mean, like I was saying, there's a couple that are hit pause, let's go. And you know, the stack of resumes I'm getting in from people right now and all kinds of things like, hey, I wasn't ready to talk 2 years ago when I was getting $80,000 a year from this company, but hey, what you got? You know, I'd really like to try to help move your brand forward. And it's like, oh.
And you know, it feels like it's not, it feels like it's going to be interesting to see what happens when it's a more core company doing the pause. Is it going to be a pause, or is it going to be just we're done? Because all of the companies that have paused have been those huge ones with giant financial backing that says, hey, we're cutting off your money.
Right. I don't know.
And I don't either. I don't think anybody does.
And the scary part is I don't want it to happen to anybody. I mean, I remember when Cradle called it done on FBM, I actually cried for him on that day.
Yeah.
Cradle is, dude, one of the most solid dudes. The guy is awesome. I've known him for a long time. I've got original Cradle artwork in my building. And he always had that dream of let's go have fun. You know, he went a little hardcore, fire, beer, mayhem, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know? Well, he wasn't happy until the party was shit in the bed, excuse the term. But, you know, he wanted to have fun and wanted to build bikes. And it was him and his buddies going out and riding and having fun. And it built a company. And when he said, hey, guess what? FBM is no more. I was so sad. And he sent me one of his little ramp photos and he was like, hey, Bill, don't fuck this up, you know? And it's something I look at every single day when I walk in, and I try and remember every single day when I unlock the door that, okay, today's day number 1. I've got to hustle. I've got to make the money. I've got to keep things going. How do I do this? And I'm not ever ungrateful for what the riders allow me to do by people enjoying the product that we make. It's like, okay, rad. You know, I get to keep designing more cool things. I get to keep trying to keep more people on the circuit and on the tour and doing things and having fun. But some days it's stressful. I mean, in the past, I was explaining to somebody that at one point while I was running Supercross, I had a couple of extra side hustles to where I was getting up in the morning and going to work for Disney, selling Disney books over the phone, and then getting off work from there at 11. And then I'd work on Supercross from 11 until 2. And then at 3, I had to report to my job selling solar water heaters over the phone. And I would do that job from 3 till 9. And then I get to go home for a half hour, or whatever. And then I head off to my job to the penny saver, putting inserts into the penny savers that were going out in the mail, which I mean, those haven't been around for 15 years, but you know, it used to be something where you get a little insert in the mail that would have all the coupons. And I was one of the stupid guys standing there shoving it into it for our local area, because I wanted to keep Supercross alive. And the
Wow.
industry went down, that was just the hustle and the dream.
Yeah. How long did you do all 4 of those things consecutively?
For that pitch where I did those particular 4, 2 years.
Wow. That is determination, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's going to take. Like, if we start to see core companies pulling back, I said earlier, I think BMX freestyle is in a lucky enough position that those core companies could scale down to where it's 1 or 2 people running things and they just do batches of stuff as it comes in. I think what we'll see is those companies, if that happens, hustling and doing what they have to do on the outside to keep it going. And it really just kind of feels like, and this might be wrong, but from everything you're saying, everything I've gathered, it feels like the solution in these times is DIY and just making it happen.
Full on hardcore punk rock ethic where, hey, we're going to put the contests together. And that's where I love what Mike's been doing with Dirty Fest and what I love with what Justin Kinman's doing with Feel the Rhythm, because these events, they're fun events and they're getting a lot of people showing up. And when Eddie Fiola's doing his little jams down at Gale Webb Skate Park or Pump Track, he's getting 400, 500 kids showing up to ride, and they're just there to have fun. There's no points on the table. There's no trophies. They may have a couple raffle prizes or, a t-shirt throw out or something like that, but you're there to have fun. And that's what we need this whole thing to get back to. And again, when Hoffman started BS Bikes, and I mean the BS stunt shows, and I'm not 100% for sure on this, Matt and I never had this conversation, but from talking to him the few times I have, it was like, I just wanted something to do. I was bored and I wanted to go have fun. I found out that I could go do some shows at some, local county fairs or some schools or whatever. And then he was renting out parking lots and putting on his own little contests. And, we got lucky. X Games picked it up and said, hey, that's going to be a really good thing. We need to do that. ESPN, X Games, we need to make BMX huge that way. And when Magoo had the Vans Triple Crown series that he was doing in the early 2000s, that was rad. You're getting BMX exposed to millions of people, and it was just fun. Was there a plate? Was there a title? Did Vans throw up $100,000? Yeah, they did. But, you had people just going out there and having fun and hucking themselves and just having a community. And that's what BMX really needs, is a strong community. We need people that really help each other and, get the jams going. And, like you and I talking, I mean, I'm not trying to say that our conversation means anything. Most people probably have clicked way off before now and are like, what are those guys even talking about? Who do they think they are? But we need to have people just having fun. And that's where seeing all these little jams and seeing the events, that's so cool, because it's just people having fun.
I also think conversations like these need to happen, and we need to be talking about like how to make things better, ideas, just fun, and bringing together. Like, I've never raced in my life, and I'm sitting here having a conversation on the internet in front of who knows how many people click on it with a guy who owns a predominantly race-based BMX company, and it's all because we both have a common thought of like wanting BMX to be better and grow and see more people do it and just have positive mindsets in general.
Very much so. I mean, and that's the thing, Brent, where when I first started watching some of your shows and saw the way that you handled things and how you were all about the positivity, I was just like, dude, this is rad. We gotta do something. And you and I started talking, just, you know, a couple emails or texts back and forth and a couple phone calls. And hey, you know, now 3, 4, 5 years later, whatever it is, you know, I consider you a friend, and you know, we talk, you know, and just like I'll call Robbie Morales. Hey man, how you doing? What's been going on? You doing okay? How's everything going? You know, what can I do to help you? You know, Moeller and I have been talking, and obviously Moeller's made it really public with what he's had going on. And I didn't make it public when I had stuff going on. You know, it's just different people doing it different ways. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's a few other people in our industry that are going through some things, but it's cool because we check in on each other. And you know, all of our goals are, let's make BMX more fun, let's make BMX more of a cool thing. Robbie's not in it for the money, Chris isn't in it for the money, I'm not in it for the money. Yeah, everybody's got to eat, and everybody's got to pay for employees and pay for mortgages and pay for insurance, which, oh my God, is so expensive. So I mean, we've all got to make some money, but it's not like we're one of these bigger companies that are going, hey, guess what, we're going to make an 80% margin on this so that we can give our bike shop a 45% margin on this. And let's look at the spreadsheets and see, you know, which one's this, and we need to force our shops to pre-order this, and let's go into Dick's and meet with the buyer. And you know, I did that little bit for a while when I worked for Balance Bikes while I was keeping Supercross going, when it was like 95, 96, when BMX was in a little bit of a lull again. I got a second job working for Balance Bikes, and they were doing mountain bikes, and they were doing the full on, you know, adult line. And we were supposed to be going into the big box stores, and I was having to go to some of these meetings, and it's just like, this is such bullshit. You know, nobody here knows a damn thing about the bikes that they're buying or selling. It's a commodity. It might as well be a freaking vacuum. Might as
Mm-hmm.
well be a Dyson in the corner or something. And oh, we're selling vacuums today. And okay, Bob, go put on your tie and wait for the people to come through the door. And you know,
Hmm.
it's like, no, I want to do cool stuff. I want to make rad stuff. And you know, my passion's just in the BMX, just like yours. You know, we found
Yeah.
out how fun it is.
Yeah, it's fascinating to hear what you just said. And then earlier having the conversation about bike companies making like lower level bikes that could go into these types of stores to get those customers into the ecosystem of like BMX companies and whatever. And it's all the more of a motivation in my eyes that like, yeah, not every single company out there, like Colt should not be making a $100 bike for kids, but there are companies out there that if they decide to could do that and take some of that market share away from those giants and bring that money into BMX.
And that would be awesome. And that's the hard part with it, is that I know how much it costs, and we make the smallest margin we can to keep things going and just make things happen. And I know a few other companies that are the same way. And when you start talking to some of the factories, they're like, well, we need $100,000 deposit, and that container won't ship for 18 months. And then if you want the next container to follow after that, that's going to be another $100,000 deposit. And you won't see that for 18 months. And pretty soon you're $2 million in before you get the first container. And then what if something goes wrong? What if the
Yeah.
buyers aren't in place? What if all of a sudden the economy goes to shit like it has right now? What if all of a sudden the buyer at Dick's gets fired and moves to a different company, and the new buyer doesn't like you because you didn't bring him the Chipotle bowl that the other guy brought him, which I hate to say, but
It's real.
there's so many of them that work on, oh, what's my sidekick on this one? Oh, what am I going to get? Okay, because they're in charge of ordering hundreds of thousands of bikes for Dick's and for Walmarts and for Targets. And, they know that there's a lot of money going through there. And I'm not saying all buyers are that way at all, because there's so many of them that just, they're there, they're doing their job, and they're making it hustle, and they're not looking for the sidekick.
But it does happen.
Yeah, you get a couple shady ones that are like, hey man, I just had the rep in here from so and so, and they offered me this, and if you're going to give me this, then I might be able to bring some of your stuff in and keep them out. And I've seen that happen on the big bike box stores, to where you're like, oh, holy shit, GT just got screwed, or oh, holy crap, look what Specialized just did. And when Specialized went direct, I mean, I had so many of my shops calling me going, screw this, I don't want those status frames in here anymore. I'm going to bring in all of your Shine dirt jump frames. And, I had Specialized signage all over my store, and I'm ripping it all down. And it was like, whoa, guys, it's bicycles that you're supposed to ride and have fun. But it gets to be big business for some people.
Yeah, and it's crazy. And it's stuff that the average person has no idea goes on. And you're talking about, like, talking to Moeller and Robbie and Bonner and all these people, and like, not everything needs to be out there for everyone, and there's obviously always conversations that shouldn't be out there for the public. But I think if we had more conversations like this one, where we just talked about like how to move forward generally without spilling the stuff that shouldn't be talked about, I think it could just be a positive thing in general for BMX, where we're spreading awareness, spreading ideas, and it's in a way that, instead of only a select few people hearing about it and knowing about it and whatever, now like people who just go and ride for fun can have a little bit of insight, and then that might shift their purchasing decisions more than just, oh, I like this color, or oh, I like this company because blank reason. And who knows the butterfly effect that it could cause with that.
Well, that's the thing, is it is a butterfly effect. And sorry, 1 second.
No worries.
The wife checking in on something real quick. She's like, hey, I noticed the alarm hasn't been set yet. Are you okay? It's nice to be loved.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, we need these conversations, and we need people to know that, hey, this is why somebody's doing something, or what we're trying to do to evolve, and how we're trying to do this. And not everybody's going to like Supercross. Not everybody's going to like Cult. Not everybody's going to like S&M. They're all going to have their own different flavor. And I love the friendly competition that we have in this industry. And I mean, I really miss it since Redmond passed away. But, Mike was the announcer for BMX, and, he had a competing brand against us. And, we would talk every single week about, okay, well, how do we do this? How are we going to try and fix this? How are we going to try and do this? How can we help make the sport be better? And that's where Moeller and I have had some of the conversations. And I mean, I love what he's doing out there with the Pond Fest, and, just out there and having fun. And it's so cool. It is so cool. And I mean, obviously with Bonner, I mean, that guy's he's got ADHD to the nth degree, the way he gets things done, to where he just boom, 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 boom. And I remember the first time I met him, and we brought his first UGP plates into California. We were his first dealer on the West Coast selling UGP, because it was like, oh man. And he was 16 years old, silk screen him in his bedroom with all of his stuff stored underneath his bed. Wow. And he's like, I'm going to make this whole thing happen. And he has. And I'm so proud of him for it.
What's crazy to think about is that there's an entire next generation of those people that are alive right now, and we
Yeah.
might not know who they are or what those companies are going to look like. And it's going to be really interesting to see how it all develops.
Yeah. And the one thing that I hope for is that somebody out there today has the passion to go, all right, I'm going to try and make this better. What can I do? How do
Mm-hmm.
I make this better? I mean, when we first started Supercross, well, the way we started doing tech was my buddies needed custom size racing pants and nobody was making custom size racing pants. So it's like, okay, cool, we'll do those. And then we started making shin guards because people were allergic to the neoprene on the hammers. So we started doing some shin guards out of pack cloth and padding. And, you know, we had Martin Aparicio running them and John Pova and Sean McKinney and this whole old school group of people to where it was like, okay, we're solving problems for us being riders going out and having fun. What's keeping us from having fun? Oh, we need this. Oh, we need that. Okay, well, we'll do this. And then it just starts to evolve. And I mean, that's the exact way that Moeller came up with his frame. He
Yeah.
kept breaking and breaking frames. And all of a sudden, comes out with the Mad Dog where it's double thick dropouts and, machined head tubes because he wanted something that was going to last, that he wasn't going to break. And it's like, rad, and Ronnie wanted to put his touch of style on things, and it's like, this is awesome. This is cool. We're fixing problems. And every day I hope that there's somebody who woke up and goes, okay, I'm going to fix the problem today. How can I be bigger than Supercross? How can I be bigger than S&M? What can I do to fix the problems that we have? I mean, where are the problems in my lineup, in my program, and how do we fix that? Where are the problems in Moeller's lineup, and how do we fix that? How do we make BMX just more fun and better and just spread the virus of BMX further across the world to where people are just stoked? I mean, I was pumped. I got this in the mail the other day from France. They're starting to publish Beast Cross magazine again.
Oh,
And
nice.
dude, it's thick. And it is just rad pictures of all kinds of stuff. Problem is, I can't read French, so I don't have any of it says.
That's
But
hilarious.
you got Will and Scott Town putting out Greystoke, which is, the old BMXers who are still still stoked on being able to ride. And it's so rad to where I'm like, yeah, I'm in, guys, let's do this. One thing, and we've talked about this in side conversations before, it used to be really cool that you'd go to the grocery store with mom, and while she's buying the milk and the eggs, which are more expensive in California now, you could run by the magazine stand and pick up, BMX Action or Snap or Transworld or Ride or, whatever the flavor of the magazine was. And you're like, dude, this is rad. And you just throw it in the cart and you hope that at the checkout, mom buys it. And you get to go home and you're stoked because there's kids on bikes like you like to do. And you're like, rad. But all those magazines went away. And now the kids are on their phone, right? They're grabbing their phone and they're like, okay, what am I going to watch? And okay, which the new edit? What's the new banger? What's the story? What's going on with Brant? What's going on over at Supercross or GT? Or what are the guys at Cruising in the 808 doing? And I mean, those guys are hilarious. I don't know if you've ever watched them, but two funny Hawaiians building big bike BMXers just because they loved it when they were kids, and now they're infecting a whole generation. And you get Isaac doing all of his freestyle stuff, and then you've got the All Things BMX crew where they're trying to do interviews, and you've got the Dirty Knobs podcast where they're interviewing old riders, and then you've got our BMX doing all their docs where they're sitting down with doing interviews with all the riders of today and the company owners. And I mean, now you've got it in your hand. Any kid can find it, but they don't know how to find it. And that's where we've got to push that more and get them to find it. And that's where I keep telling everybody all the time, I don't care what BMX it is, just watch it, share it, tell it to somebody. Maybe one of these times the Google or the YouTube algorithm will catch it and go, oh, BMX, that's what we're going to push for the next month.
Mm.
And we'll get so many people in to just go, oh, BMX is rad. Oh, I want to do that. I mean, it's like when I saw that guy on the mountain bike doing the run on the train. Did you see that one? Or it was the Red Bull event from Poland where I'll have
Yeah,
this
I think so.
where he's doing the backflip on the moving train and doing all the different jumps. I was like, oh shit, that's rad. You know, he had it
Yeah.
pretty cool. That was fine. It was rad. And I know that was being pushed at the top of the algorithm for a while because anytime I'd turn on YouTube or Instagram, it was that guy doing a backflip on a moving train. And I'm like, oh shit, okay, that's cool. But how do we get BMX to be up there?
Yeah, and that's been a focus for me for probably over a year, maybe 2 years at this point, of just trying to figure out like how do we get BMX in front of people who don't already ride bikes, and pushing this concept of, yeah, the edits are awesome and the trips across the country with the crazy, like the best riders in the world are awesome. But if we just take a little bit of time to put a little bit of focus on something that might be able to reach outside of BMX in a more like hard hitting way, like an edit right now, if it in that train video, it's so crazy and so inaccessible and unrelatable that it's just entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's awesome because it gets it in front of some people. But at the end of the day, nobody's watching. Can't say nobody. Very few people are watching that video of the dude on the train. Like, I want to go and try riding that bike.
Yeah.
So like, it's awesome to get that viral moment, but it's not as impactful because it's not going to get as many people to want to try it. And so I've just been trying to like just bring up the idea of like, all right, let's just be conscious of the fact that if we make stuff that just shows how fun BMX is or shows people's personalities and isn't just about the next craziest trick, maybe we can reach more people to get more people to do it and just bring in awareness to that.
So there's this lady who makes YouTube videos for kids, and I'm drawing a blank on her name right now. I can picture her face and the costume she wears. But she decided that she was going to try and promote BMX for a little while.
Mm.
And she came out to our track and did a balance bike day. And it was funny. She had followers from 150, 200 miles away show up with their kids and their little balance bikes. And I mean, we had 400 people on balance bikes that were, you know, age 4 and under, because this lady who puts out these videos to kids, you know, teaches them their colors, teaches them how to sing, whatever. But she started doing a tour to go around and do balance bikes. But it was funny. And I mean, she wasn't doing it for free. She wanted money. It was like having a clinic at our track, you know, where you got to pay a pro, but on YouTube. But we ended up with like 30 new members that day. And we haven't ended up with 30 new members in a day in decades. But it was because she showed up, and because she showed balance bikes, and she showed, you know, Dick Cheeseburger on one of her shows, you know, Jason Morris from SE, or I think Barry Nobles, or Peyton Ridenhour from Mongoose. I mean, somebody, you know, one of the famous BMXers, you know, on the race side got hooked up with her or whatever, and all of a sudden she's on this balance bike kick. And it was like, wow, that's pretty cool, because some of her videos go out to 4 million people. You know, I'm like, hell, I'm stoked that we're at 30,000 subscribers. And I mean, you're at what, 100,000 subscribers
Getting
now.
there, yeah. Getting towards that. But yeah, we talked a little bit about this last time we talked, and it's just one of those things. I think, like, as it feels icky, I think about like, oh, we're gonna pay some influencer to come out to the skate park for a day and make videos about BMX. But I feel like there's a time and a place that it makes sense. What you're talking about totally makes sense with the balance bike. So maybe it's it, and the reason that this stuff doesn't happen as much in the freestyle world is because the people who are running the marketing for companies are BMX riders who never went to school for marketing or to do that stuff, and they just worked at a company or they were affiliated, and then the job opened and it made sense. And so while they're probably good at what they do, they're also not necessarily looking at it from like a wider lens. And
Right.
and yes, it feels kind of weird to like go online and look it up and think of like, oh, let's try and organize an event where we bring somebody noteworthy out to hang out with kids, and we try and have a pro there or some pros there so that we can connect these dots. But like that is going to do so much more than any crazy edit will ever do to like make an impact on kids and making them want to ride bikes.
Exactly. And that's part of where with our track, I mean, we've been having bad moto count lately. We haven't been getting as many people out there. But the other day we had 4 riders show up. 4.
Total?
And we total.
Wow.
And we lose so much money to open the track, to pay the insurance to USA BMX and pay all that stuff. But I told Kevin, who's been running the track for me right now, to where I was like, dude, how old are those kids? And he's like, well, one's 6, one's 7, another one's 8, and then there's a 4-year-old. And I'm like, if they're into it and they want to do it, let them race, because they're there because they're BMX diehards, or pay for practice and let them practice for free. Just I'll give you the $20. Let them ride. Let's make this happen, because for those 4, maybe they'll go back to their buddies and say, it was so fun, you should come out and try it, and infect that. Now, that's not a normal night. Normally we're getting, 100, 110 kids, but weather was weird. It was rain in one day, and then there was wind, and then there was some holiday or something. And I can't remember exactly what the deal was, but it was just like, whoa, 4. Okay, well, let's let them ride. Let's let them have some fun. And that's what we have to do. We have to make kids be able to enjoy themselves.
Yeah, and maybe it's a thing of you organize once a month, you figure out somebody to come out, and then that person promotes it to their people, and it just feels weird. But I think if we, and it does, like, just because that idea exists, and I'm talking about that, doesn't mean that's the only thing that it could be. And like, there could be an endless avenue. And I guess what I try to do, and the point I try to make, is just like being open-minded enough to try and think of something new.
Yeah. And that's what we're trying to do. And that's part of where we're going to bring back the passion, and part of why we've been doing what we're doing with Torker, and what we've been doing with Supercross. And we're trying to reach out, and like Kai White, who rides for us over in the UK, I actually got a fan mail from someone in Germany for him that they sent us a letter the other day just saying how great he is. I haven't had anybody do that in years. And when he was at the UCI Worlds, I actually had someone from the UCI call me and say, hey, Kai stayed for 2.5 hours after the race to sign autographs for kids and to pose for pictures with kids.
Wow.
He was the only pro who did it. And then when I had someone from Ireland call that had hired him to do a clinic, and they're like, hey, we paid him to do a 2-hour clinic, and he actually stayed for 8.
Wow.
And he didn't charge any extra. And he made sure that every single kid there got one-on-one instruction, and really helped him out. I'm like, oh, this guy gets it. And Kai's so funny to where, you know, he was on the picture of some like men's fashion magazine, and he had his BMX bike, and he was on UK's version of Dancing on Ice or Dancing with the Stars or something, you know, because,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he got over at the Olympics before. So, I mean, he's a pretty big celebrity, you know, he's an Olympian. And, you know, he brought his bike with, and on the TV show, you can see he's got his bike and he's telling everybody, oh, BMX is the best. And it's like, okay, cool. Here's a guy that he's an influencer because he is an Olympian. He's also fast, he rides, but he also knows that the kids are what pays his check, and the kids that got him to where he is. And he remembers when he was a kid, because he actually rode for us before when he was 8 years old and 9 years old, and got number one plates as an 8 year old and a 9 year old, and he's gone on and done all this stuff. He remembers what it was like when he was a kid, and
Yeah.
he has fun with it. And to me, it's just, that's, we need more pros doing stuff like that. If we get some of these YouTubers that are getting kids on balance bikes, awesome. Let's keep those kids on the balance bikes and teach them how to ride. And, you know, one of the guys that we help sponsor, you know, Yukiochi over in Japan, his big thing is he's an announcer at the balance bike races, because at the balance bike races in Japan, they'll get 400, 500 people showing up every single time.
Wow.
And he shows up just being crazy and in a full uniform, and he's got his BMX bike, and he'll go out there and just do a little bit of riding, and then he announces the race, and he's so loud and so funny and so fun. And you know, he dreams of being an Olympian. He wants to be, but he also realized, hey, you know, I'm not going to be that guy, but I get to have fun with kids, and I get to do this, and brings more kids into racing from the balance bike scene,
Yeah.
and just keeps kids on bikes. You know, it's butts on bikes.
It's more of that. And once again, I'll reiterate, these concepts aren't the only ways to do this, and it's not for everyone. It's just trying to get more people to think this way, or at least be open to these types of things in conversations and whatever.
Yeah. And not poo-poo on it, not go, oh, that's stupid, oh, that's this.
Yes.
Hey, let's give it a try, you know, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, well, then we try something different.
Or at least, at the very least, just be okay with it when other people try.
Yeah. You know, I trust me, I know exactly what you mean on that, to where people are like, oh, you know, this is so stupid, or that's so that, or oh, it has to be this way, or it has to be that. No, nothing has to be any way. There's innovation in everything in life. And as long as you're passionate about what you do, just freaking go for it. And let's make it happen and have fun.
Anything that has to remain within a rigid box and can't deviate or be something else at all is bound to die.
Yeah, oh, for sure. For sure. Everything's got to learn how to grow and evolve. And I've told people this so many times, to where, like, on racing, for a long time, it was a huge controversy that, you know, steel frame versus aluminum frame, or flat pedal versus clip pedal. And, you know, so many people are like, ah, dude, it has to be like this. And you know what? That's cool. Let's keep the roots there, but let's grow great. And if there's something that we can do to make it better, let's do that.
Yeah.
You know, to make it better, let's do that. It's not what's going to make us more money or what's going to give us more exposure. What's going to make things better? And better is having more people involved. Better is, you know, less expensive bikes that can do cool things, which is weird, the way I started this whole thing off talking about the Carbon and the M46X, which is super expensive, super elitist, but it's going to be cool for the 25 that maybe 5 will buy, and then another 5 will buy. But it's going to be cool. But And I'm a hypocrite about it, to where, I mean, it would be one of the best things I could do to probably have a tri-molly frame with one-piece cranks and a steel rim, and, you know, make it affordable so we can get more kids out there. I just don't have the money to buy that kind of quantity and be that deep, you know?
Yeah, and that's one thing I didn't know whenever I was talking about all of that, is what it would actually take to make it happen. I just hope that something like that can come up and maybe we can see it somehow.
Oh yeah, there's somebody who has the money to be able to do that. But then again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier with the margin at the bike shop. You
Yeah.
know, you want to push a $79 bike or a $199 bike when they've got a $5,000 or $10,000 or $12,000, that, you know, margins are the same, but the rewards are way better over here. And, you know, I've had so many people tell me I'm either stupid or too passionate to have stuck in BMX this long. You know, I'd make more money working at McDonald's. You know, do you want fries with this? Should we supersize this? You know,
Well,
but
if there's one thing that's for sure, it's that people like you in the BMX world, no matter what happens with the BMX as an industry, are going to be there DIYing it, making it happen. And that is how we keep things going. And yeah, I appreciate that.
well, and I appreciate you, Brent. And I mean, you're championing it right now, and that's where I really enjoyed when I found your videos, because your passion comes through what you do. You can actually see it, and it's infectious. And I'm like, yeah, here's a younger guy who gets it. He's into this. He loves BMX, and he wants to see BMX be better for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole thing, is that rather than being cliquish, like how we talked about when the pros would be, you know, 2 or 3 people. I mean, the pro BMXers do it too, to where they want private practice on the tracks because they don't want to be there when the kids are there, and different things like that, which, hey, cool. If that's your thing, that's your thing. But if you can also, and I'm not saying you have to give up on that private practice, because you might need that private practice to get where you need to be for your goal of being the best at something or getting the skinny digit or whatever. But if you can understand and take that time and show up when the track's open and hang out with the kids and do something cool on the track for the kids, or do something cool at the skate park, or have some stickers or whatever, or show up at the local pump track where the kids don't even know about the skate park that's a mile away, or they don't know about the BMX track that's 2 miles the other way, and hang out. And, oh yeah, I ride the freestyle skate park over here and it's really cool. You guys should come check it out, you know. And you just start to expand the bubble and expand the bubble and expand the bubble and expand the bubble. And if everybody does it in their own area, all those bubbles are going to connect, and then we're just going to have this huge super bubble, and everybody's just going to go, yeah, BMX is the best, which we already know, you know. But how do we get the normies, as you have put it, you know, to know?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't think he could have said it any better. Growing the bubbles so that they all connect and make one big super bubble.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Let's just make the bubbles bigger.
Yes. And with that, we've been talking for 2 hours and 20 minutes just about.
Oh God.
Yeah, so it went really fast, but man, I just hope that anybody who watches it gets something out of it. And there will be like the little collab thing. So it's going to say that this is uploaded from me, Supercross, maybe Torker too. So we have this conversation anywhere that people can see it and grow BMX, make that super bubble.
We got to make the super bubble.
So,
thank you for your time. I hope it's not too late for you back there. I know it's getting to be, what, 11 o'clock now, midnight?
nah, it's almost 10. We're good.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you jumping on here with me and just having another conversation. I'm stoked for one day when our paths cross.
Well, I'm telling you, Dirty Fest this year coming up, June 5th, 6th, 7th. I'm telling you, put it on your Google Calendar now because you're going to be busy and you're going to be having so much fun that smile's never coming off your face.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that one out. Either way, though, thank you again, and make sure you guys check out the Supercross side of things. A lot of freestyle people in my world, but maybe check out racing too.
Yeah, hey, it's all BMX, right?
That's right. Super Bubble.
Super Bubble. Brent, have a great night, brother. God bless you.
You too. Thank you, everybody, and good night.